You have nowhere to be. The hunt ended this morning. The fire is burning low. There is food. There is water. The sun is halfway across the sky, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that demands your attention right now. What do you do? For roughly 300,000 years, this was not a rare afternoon. This was Tuesday. This was most of the week. The version of you that existed before cities, before schedules, before the concept of productivity was invented, that version of you had enormous amounts of unstructured time, and the question of what to do with it is older than language itself. A landmark study conducted by anthropologist Richard Lee among the Jonsi people of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last surviving hunter-gatherer communities on Earth, found something that shocked the academic world at the time. Adults spent on average just 15 to 20 hours per week acquiring food. That is less time than most modern people spend commuting in a month. The rest of the time was structurally unscheduled. Unscheduled did not mean empty. James Sussman, a social anthropologist who spent decades living alongside the Jonsi and wrote extensively about their relationship to time and work, documented what that unscheduled time actually looked like. It was not desperate foraging. It was not constant vigilance. It looked, in large stretches, like something that modern humans tend to guilt themselves out of. It looked like leisure. So, what did ancient humans actually do when there was nothing they had to do? The answer will change how you think about boredom and about almost everything you do to escape it. Let's go back. Not all the way to the beginning, but far enough. Around 75,000 years ago, in a narrow cave cut into a limestone cliff face overlooking the Indian Ocean in what is now South Africa, your ancestors were doing something that archaeologists initially dismissed as insignificant. They were making marks. Blombo's cave has produced some of the most remarkable evidence of early human behavior ever discovered. Among the objects pulled from its sediment layers are fragments of ochre, a reddish-brown mineral pigment, deliberately engraved with repeating geometric patterns, crosshatches, parallel lines. These were not accidental scratches. They required sustained attention. They required, at minimum, the desire to put something down that had no immediate survival function. The archaeologist Francesco de Erico, who studied those fragments extensively, concluded that they represent some of the oldest known examples of symbolic behavior in the human fossil record. Symbolic behavior, letting a mark stand for something beyond itself, is the cognitive engine behind almost everything humans do to pass the time. It is the foundation of storytelling, of visual art, of music, of games, of everything. Boredom did not produce helplessness. It produced the first art. Move forward in time to around 40,000 years ago to the Swabian Jura Mountains of what is now southern Germany, and the evidence becomes even harder to dismiss. At sites like Vogelherd Cave and Hohlefels, archaeologists unearthed some of the oldest confirmed works of representational art in the world. Small figurines of horses, mammoths, and birds, carved from mammoth ivory with stone tools. They also found flutes, hollow bird bone and mammoth ivory flutes with carefully bored finger holes, shaped and tuned. These were musical instruments. They were entertainment. Someone spent hours, possibly days, making them. Think about that for a moment. Someone sat down near a fire after a physically demanding day and chose to spend the remaining hours carving a small horse out of a piece of bone. Not because it kept them warm, not because it fed them, because it was something to do, because doing it felt good. Now let's reconstruct the day. You wake up just before dawn. Your body does the waking, as it always has, attuned to light rather than to an alarm. The fire needs feeding. Someone is already tending to it. Around you, the camp, somewhere between 20 and 50 people, most of them family, a few of them complicated, is slowly coming to life. The morning involves work, a foraging trip, tool maintenance, preparing yesterday's food. But that work ends, often before midday. And when it ends, the day opens up. Children play, physical, inventive, unsupervised play that researchers consistently find is structurally identical across hunter-gatherer societies worldwide. Adults talk, they groom each other, they nap, they tinker. Someone tells a story. Someone picks up a piece of bone and starts carving something into it. And when the light fades, the fire comes alive again. This is where anthropologist Polly Weissner made one of the most remarkable discoveries in the study of ancient social life. Weissner spent years recording conversations in Juhuan-san communities at different times of day, logging thousands of hours of talk, and what she found was a clean, consistent pattern. During the day, when work was happening, conversation was practical: where to hunt, what to gather, what needed fixing, information-dense, goal-directed talk. But at night, gathered around the fire, the content of conversation shifted almost entirely. Around 80% of nighttime talk was devoted to storytelling, not planning, not problem-solving. Stories, narratives about people, places, events, journeys, animals, the supernatural, often involving figures from long before anyone around the fire had been born. This is how boredom was answered, not by distraction, by narration. The campfire was a technology all on its own. Not fire itself, humans had used fire long before, but the ritual of gathering around it after dark, extending the social day into hours that daylight had previously closed off. Weissner argued that this nightly ritual was doing something profound underneath all the entertainment. It was transmitting culture across generations. It was building emotional bonds between people who depended on each other for survival. It was practicing the theory of other minds, imagining other people's inner lives, their motivations, their pain, their choices. Robin Dunbar, the evolutionary psychologist who proposed the social brain hypothesis, the idea that the human brain grew large primarily to manage the complexity of large social groups, has argued that storytelling and social talk are the human equivalent of primate grooming, a way of maintaining relationships at scale. Your ancestors told stories because stories were the glue that held cooperative societies together. But storytelling was only one tool. Games appear throughout the archaeological record earlier than most people expect. Carved game pieces made of bone and stone, astragalus bones, the ankle bones of sheep and goats, ground smooth and used as dice, found at sites across the ancient Near East, dating back more than 5,000 years. Among contemporary hunter-gatherer communities studied in the 20th century, games of skill, chance, and endurance appear universally. Play is not something humans invented to cope with modernity. Play is one of the oldest things humans do. Music, similarly. The bone flutes from the Swabian Jura are the oldest confirmed instruments, but the impulse almost certainly predates them. Rhythm tapped on hollow wood, songs made with only the human voice, hand clapping and movement in groups. In most hunter-gatherer societies, music is not something you watch, it is something you do. Everyone participates. There is no performer and no audience. There's only the group moving and making sound together. And then there is touch. Social grooming, the careful, unhurried act of picking through someone's hair, massaging tired muscles, cleaning small wounds, is documented across virtually every non-industrial society on record. It looks trivial from the outside, but Dunbar's research shows that grooming behaviors in humans release endorphins, reduce cortisol, and build neurological trust between individuals. Your ancestors touched each other constantly, and that constant touching was doing biological work that words alone could not accomplish. Sleep was different too. The historian A. Roger Eckerch, whose research traced sleep patterns across pre-industrial cultures worldwide, found consistent evidence of segmented sleep, 2 separate sleep periods with a natural waking interval in the middle of the night that could last an hour or more. People used that quiet middle night window for prayer, for reflection, for soft conversation with whoever was lying awake nearby. The mind was given room to wander, to process, to imagine things that the busy, working day simply did not allow. Here is where the story turns. We treat boredom as a problem, something broken, something to fix immediately before it gets uncomfortable. You reach for your phone before you are fully awake. You turn on background noise in empty rooms because silence feels somehow accusatory. You fill every gap. But the neuroscience tells a different story. When the brain is not focused on external demands, it activates what researchers call the default mode network, a coordinated pattern of brain activity associated with daydreaming, narrative construction, self-reflection, and creative insight. It is, in essence, the same mental state your ancestors entered around the fire every night. The state that produced the Blombos engravings, the ivory flutes, the myths that carried knowledge across 100 generations without a single word being written down. Boredom was not a crisis to manage, it was a raw material to work with. Your ancestors did not kill boredom, they lived inside it. They made things from it. They built their entire culture out of the long, unscheduled hours that modern life has nearly eliminated. You still carry those instincts. The pull toward stories, toward music, toward the quiet company of other people, toward making marks on things just to see what they look like. They are not quirks, they are not distractions. They are 300,000 years old. The next time you find yourself with nothing to do and nothing demanding your attention and no screen to fill the space, you have nowhere to be. That used to be the whole point.